if the audience would bear with me, to read two parts of the Torah, just maybe to get some perspective, and then I'll ask my question. Everyone knows the famous Sodom and Gomorrah story. Okay. Abraham came forward and said, "Will you sweep away the innocent along with the guilty? What if there should be 50 innocent within the city? Will you then wipe out the place and not forgive it for the sake of the innocent 50 who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to bring death upon the innocent as well as the guilty, so that innocent and guilty fare alike. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly?" And the Lord answered, "If I find within the city of Sodom 50 innocent ones, I will forgive the whole place for their sake." Abraham spoke up, saying, "Hence I venture to speak, my Lord, I who am but dust and ashes. What if the 50 innocent should lack 5? Will you destroy the whole city for want of the 5? And he answered, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 there." But he spoke to him again and said, "What if 40 should be found there?" And he answered, "I will not do it for the sake of the 40. And he said, "Let not my Lord be angry if I go on, but what if 30 innocent should be found there?" And he answered, "I will not do it if I found 30 there." So and so on, until God eventually says 10, then he would destroy the city. That's from Genesis 18, verse 16. And the shorter passage I wanted to read was from Exodus 22:20. "You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not ill-treat any widow or orphan. If you do mistreat them, I will heed their outcry as soon as they cry out to me. And my anger shall blaze forth, and I will put you to the sword, and your own wives shall become widows, and your children orphans." Now, I guess you can see what I'm getting at here. To me, those two passages means the rejection of collective guilt, or punishing innocent along with the guilty, and the importance of compassion towards other human beings. Now, you probably know better than me, but from my understanding, never in Jewish history have these two values been applied selectively, meaning it governs Jewish behavior towards Jews as well as Jewish behavior towards non-Jews. And my question then to you is, a lot of the things that you've said, for instance, all the Arabs in Lebanon are not worth the life of one Jew, and calling upon, saying that a Jewish state cannot exist with a democratic state in the long run. To me, as a Jew, that contradicts the essence of Jewish justice, of the sense of Jewish justice, and contradicts basically the only thing that binds you and me, the Torah. Okay.
First of all, it's quite true, Arna Rabbi, whether collective punishment is a Jewish concept or not, in the Torah, after the Torah was given to the Jewish people, might be seen in the concept of a people called Amalek. You've heard of them. Since my Bible is not in English, I'll have to do a kind of a rough kind of a translation. This is from the same Torah that you read. Vaya, aniach Hashem lakecha, mikol oivecha misaviv. And when the Almighty shall give you rest from all your enemies about you, timche et zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim. You shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. And King Saul was commanded in Samuel, the book of Samuel, 1, chapter 15, to wipe them out totally. Now, I'm sure that not every single one of those people was what you call bad, right? And yet, there it was. Because the Edomites and the Egyptians and the Moabites and the Ammonites did not treat the Jews properly. In the Torah, it says that the Ammonites and the Moabites will never be allowed to marry into the Kahal Hashem, the assembly of the Lord. There is collective punishment in Judaism. And I put it to you that in World War II, when Allied bombers bombed German cities, who do you think that they were killing in those cities, the Allied bombers? Generals? SS troops? Or were they killing German men, women, and children in order to bring that war, hopefully, one day closer 1 week closer, 1 month closer to its end so that innocent people, really innocent people, might be saved. Had you lived in World War II, I hope to God that you would have not demonstrated against the bombing of innocent women and children in Germany. I hope to God, though I have grave, grave doubts. Now, the question about who is a good Arab, bad Arab, you have a very, very serious problem. To you, a good Arab is one who recognizes Israel and who will allow the Jews to live in Israel. That's not a good Arab. That's a quizzling Arab. A good Arab is like a good Jew. A good Jew is one who says, the land belongs to us. A good Arab is one who says the land belongs to him. I respect the Arabs. Can't understand you. There is not one Arab in the world who a minute before he murdered a Jew was not considered as not a bad Arab. On the day that you can prove to me how you can pick out the ones who are going to kill Jews and not, then I'll have a little more moral feeling for you. But in the meantime, when my wife has to go on a bus and my children and my grandchildren into the marketplace, and I'm not sure when a bomb is going to go off, put there by an Arab who until that moment was a good Arab, in your mind, since there's no collective punishment. It's not your wife. It's not your children. So don't be so moral at my expense. Secondly, the thing that you brought down about the stranger. First of all, let's use the Hebrew word, ger. It doesn't mean stranger. The rabbis tell us 48 times when it says ger, it means a convert to Judaism. That's what ger means, not a stranger. Now, certainly, I'm certainly making a great, great difference between a non-Jew who wants to live in Israel and one who wants to take that country from me. If any non-Jew wants to live inside Israel, of course he should be treated properly, and of course well. But if you're talking about people who say it's our country and Jews are thieves and someday Israel will become Palestine, see? If you only knew how I would pay for you to come with me, what would I do if you weren't here? Did you hear that? Now quote me again that let's treat the stranger properly so that he can take your country from you. And so therefore, that answers your question.
Well,
next one.
I'm sorry, just quickly follow up for a second. I wasn't thinking, I mean, for instance, when the bomb blew up in Jerusalem,
yes.
Excuse me, on the beach, that basically ended the dialogue between the United States and the PLO for the time being. For the time being. Right. Jews roamed through the streets.
Right.
And just, threw rocks at cars.
Right.
Totally randomly. I'm
Right.
not talking about, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but still it seems to me that despite these outbursts here, that in many cases there are innocent Arabs, ones who have lived in Israel since 1948, own businesses, vote Likud at times. And to me, to punish them for the action of a terrorist, I think does contradict this. And I think a medium, we don't have to go totally out of control. I mean, I believe that Israel should be protected. I'm not sure whether or not we should give the occupied territories back. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment. But I don't believe that, on the other hand, we should go so far as to just say, well, an Arab blew up this bomb, and an Arab's over there, so I'm gonna beat the...
All right. In a certain sense, I think, that you're right. But what is your answer to a frustrated and bitter and frightened people that sees this happening every single week, and the government is either incapable or unwilling to take steps? What are they supposed to do? How easy it is for you to sit here in an atmosphere of a college, university, a campus, and talk about it's not right. I agree with you. Can't you begin to grasp how they feel? Secondly, if I would ever be prime minister of Israel, Not one Arab would ever be killed because they wouldn't be there. And I would rather move them out and have them live with their own people than kill them every single day. What is more moral? What is more moral? Tell me. Having the army shoot them every single day because they throw rocks and firebombs at soldiers? Is that more moral, or is it more moral to have an exchange of populations? We took in 800,000 Sephardic Jews from Arab countries, and now let's finish it by giving them the Arabs from the Jewish country. I think that that is a moral issue and a moral answer, and if you don't think so, it's not enough to say, well, I don't think so. You had better give a better answer, because if you tell me, well, I have no answer, that is no answer to me and my wife and my children and 3.5 million Jews living inside Israel. Yes. Next. Okay.
As you know, majority of Jews still are not religious in Israel, and there are still liberal Jews who are not support your ideas. So if you gain the power, how it will affect and impact the lives of those Jews and liberals?
Sorry, again?
The majority of Jews in Israel still are not religious, and there are still liberal Jews who are not support your ideas. If you gain the power, how this will affect and impact their lives?
Most of my votes in 1984, when I won a seat in Parliament, did not come from religious Jews. We were the only party based upon Torah which ever in the history of Israel received 80% of its votes from non-observant Jews. I'm speaking about issues which have nothing to do with whether one is an observant Jew or not. I'm speaking about survival. You think that when I'm cheered in Sephardic neighborhoods, it's because of my yarmulke? It's because I say things that they understand. Why do Sephardic Jews back me in such great degree? Because they come from Arab countries and they lived under Arabs, and they fled those Arabs, and they never again want to live with them. I come here to Minneapolis, and I find myself in the Middle West. Fine. Well, the Middle West is not the Middle East. Get that clear. In the Middle East, you don't solve problems over coffee and cake. Here, any problem arises, let's sit down, let's talk it over, coffee and cake, compromise, come out and finish. You say that, we can work it out. The Middle East is a different mindset, a different culture. There is no compromise. There's a difference. So now, certainly the majority of Jews inside Israel are not observant Jews. That has no relevance to the issue which I raise. There are many, many of them who will support me until we move the Arabs out, and then afterwards won't support me, which is sad, but it's the way it is. In the meantime, support me. Support me. Yes?
There are many people in Israel, Eric Sharon, one of them, who believes that if the United States thinks it can dictate policy to Israel, they can keep their money, that Israel should be weaned off of non-military aid anyway from the United States. Mm-hmm. If we follow your path of expelling Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza, the issue will become not the withdrawal of help, meaning the United States, okay, we're not going to help you anymore, but the inflicting of pain by the international community. If the EC can consider sanctions now, when I feel Israel is relatively blameless, what's going to happen if your program is implemented? And finally, I'd just like to point out that I think it's taken as a given that no country can withstand international sanctions, economic sanctions from the world community if they are united. Not South Africa, not Iraq, not Israel. And in that way, I feel that your positions are putting Israel on a collision course with the country that I was born in and the country that I love, and I don't want to see that happen.
I have news for you. You're on that collision course right now without Meir Kahane.
Excuse me?
You're on that collision course right now without Meir Kahane. As soon as that Gulf crisis ends, guess who's next on the agenda for George Bush's New World Order? If you're happy about George Bush, and I am happy, about him taking a stand against Saddam in Kuwait.